Only naive people pay debt like that. The way you're paying now, the way they taught you since you were a child. The way the bank desperately wants you to pay. The way that feels right, but keeps you poor. Milton Friedman spent a lifetime studying how the financial system really works behind the curtain. Not the pretty version of bank advertising, not the friendly version that the manager says with a smile. The real raw version. The version that explains why some people sink into debt forever, without being able to escape, while others use exactly the same debt as a tool to become increasingly rich. There is a right way and a wrong way to deal with debt. The wrong way is what the absolute majority does without questioning, the way that seems responsible in everyone's eyes. The way society applauds and encourages. The way that actually perpetuates cycles of poverty for generations. The right way is completely counterintuitive. It seems irresponsible to those who don't understand. But it really works. That's what Friedman taught. It's what financially smart people do silently, while most continue to sink without understanding why. I'm going to tell you truths about debt that will deeply bother you, that go against absolutely everything you've learned your entire life. But they are unquestionable mathematical truths, proven economic truths, truths that can transform your financial life forever if you have the courage to listen and apply them. First, uncomfortable truth. Not all debt is bad, as you were led to believe. Brazilian society treats debt as a mortal sin, like deep shame that must be hidden, as a clear sign of personal failure. Friedman completely disagreed with this simplistic view. Debt is a neutral tool, like a hammer. You can build a solid house or destroy everything. It entirely depends on how you use it. Debt that finances superfluous consumption is pure poison. Financing a new cell phone is complete stupidity. Paying for branded clothing in 12 installments is stupid and costly. Going into an overdraft to pay for a restaurant is financial suicide in slow motion. This type of debt is bad. Very bad, terribly bad. But debt that finances genuinely productive assets is completely different. Borrowing money to buy something that will generate more return than the cost of the loan is pure financial intelligence. This is exactly how rich people get richer. While the middle class is terrified of any type of debt, the rich use debt strategically to multiply their assets quickly. Second uncomfortable truth, the traditional way of paying off debt is mathematically inefficient. They taught you to pay the least of all and focus on the biggest debt. Or pay the smallest amount first to gain psychological motivation. Friedman looked at these popular strategies and saw an absurd waste of money. The only mathematically correct strategy is to pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first, always without any exception. It doesn't matter the size of the balance. It doesn't matter the emotion involved. It doesn't matter which one bothers you more. Mathematics doesn't care at all about your feelings. If you have a card charging 15% per month and a car loan charging 2% per month, every extra dollar available must go to the card, even if the balance on the car is 5 times greater, even if it feels like the car will never finish, because every rail that remains on the card multiplies 15%. Every rail advance on the car saves a measly 2%. A difference of 13 percentage points per month seems small. In an entire year, there is a difference of more than 150%. It's real money you throw away by following emotional advice instead of basic math. Third uncomfortable truth. Sometimes not paying off debt right away is the financially correct decision. This will shock you. It will seem like an apology for default. It will seem immoral. But Friedman was a pragmatic economist, not a moralist. If you have debt with completely absurd interest rates and the real option of renegotiating at a significant discount, holding off on payment and waiting for negotiation may be mathematically superior to continuing to pay in full as a good, obedient payer. Banks know this perfectly well. That's why they offer huge discounts of 50–60% for those who are in default. Big companies do exactly this all the time. They renegotiate billion-dollar debts. They ask for judicial recovery. They give strategic default. Nobody calls a businessman a deadbeat when he restructures the company's debt. But when individuals try to do the same, they are immediately treated as moral criminals. This blatant hypocrisy serves who? To the bank that wants to receive abusive interest. Friedman exposed these contradictions. The system has completely different rules for rich and poor. Poor people pay in full with V-ergonomics and sacrifice. Rich people renegotiate without any fault and move on. Fourth uncomfortable truth. Inflation is your silent ally when you owe money. This fries a lot of people's brains. Inflation is terrible for idle money. It corrodes savings relentlessly. This is absolutely true. But inflation also erodes debt in exactly the same way. If you owe 100,000 reais and inflation is 10% per year, in 1 year you owe the same 100,000 nominal values that are only worth 90,000 in real purchasing power. Debt shrank in real terms. You will pay with money that is worth less than the money you borrowed. Friedman understood this mechanism perfectly. That's why he said that long-term fixed-rate debt in an inflationary environment is a net transfer of wealth from creditor to debtor. The bank lends you strong and valuable money today. You return weak and devalued money tomorrow. Who wins in this exchange? You win. That's why banks prefer variable rates or rates indexed to inflation. To protect yourself. When you can lock in a fixed rate on long-term financing, you are gaining a strategic advantage that most people don't understand. Fifth uncomfortable truth. Paying off debt early is not always the best deal available. Everyone repeats to pay off debt as quickly as possible. It seems obvious and unquestionable advice. But it's not always mathematically correct. If you have real estate financing at 8% per year and access to an investment that yields 12% per year, every dollar you use to advance the financing is costing you 4% per year in lost opportunity. You would be objectively better off investing that money and letting the financing run within the original term. Friedman called this rate arbitrage. You borrow money at one rate and apply the higher rate. The difference is your profit. Seems risky. And there is some risk, but that's exactly what banks do every day. They take their money from savings paying 6% and lend it to others at 20%. The difference is their fat profit. You can do the same on a smaller scale. As long as your investment rate is consistently higher than your debt rate with an adequate margin of safety. Sixth uncomfortable truth. The entire financial system wants you in debt the wrong way. Banks profit enormously from your bad debt. Revolving credit cards are the biggest profit margin in the Brazilian banking sector. Overdraft is a machine that prints money for the bank at your expense. Personal credit charging 3% per month is legalized and socially accepted theft. The entire system was designed for you to fall into these very expensive traps. Beautiful advertisement, easy credit, instant approval on your cell phone. Friedman constantly warned about this. The financial market is not your friend or partner. These are the companies seeking maximum profit, and their profit often comes directly from your loss. The more expensive the credit you use, the more they earn. That's why they push cards with a high limit. They increase your limit without you asking. They facilitate special checks with one click. Every apparent facility is a hidden trap. Every convenience has a brutal cost hidden between the lines. Naive people fall over and over again. Smart people recognize and dodge. Seventh uncomfortable truth. The shame you feel keeps you stuck in debt. Society has created heavy stigma around debt. Anyone who owes it is automatically irresponsible. It's a failure. It is morally inferior. That's why who should hide it? Don't talk to anyone, don't ask for help, does not seek information. And that's exactly what the system wants. Embarrassed debtor does not research better alternatives, does not compare rates between banks. Do not renegotiate firmly. Pay silently for anything they tell you to pay. Shame is a tool of social control. It keeps you submissive and obedient. Keeps you paying without question. Friedman advocated a completely rational approach to personal finance. No emotions getting in the way, shamelessly paralyzing. No blinding pride. Debt is a number on paper. Interest rate is a number. Deadline is number. You need to look at these numbers coldly like a machine and make the best mathematical decision possible. If the best decision is to renegotiate, renegotiate without guilt. If the best decision is to prioritize investment over anticipation, do it without shame. Emotion in finance is a guaranteed recipe for eternal poverty. Eighth uncomfortable truth. Traditional financial education serves the system. It doesn't serve you. What they teach you at school, if they teach you anything, is always the same simplistic mantra. Always pay, never owe, save everything you can. This basic advice completely ignores how money actually works in the real world, ignores financial leverage, ignore opportunity cost, ignores the effect of inflation, ignores strategic renegotiation, ignore absolutely everything rich people use for thick air even richer. Friedman harshly criticized the superficial and convenient financial education. It said it was designed to create obedient good payers, not genuinely prosperous people. The financial system needs people who pay debt religiously without question. It needs people who are ashamed of duty. It needs people who don't question abusive interest rates. It needs financially obedient people. Conventional education produces exactly this. Obedient debtors who pay what they are told to pay for as long as they are told to pay and never truly prosper. What to do then? Friedman suggested a different approach. First, separate good debt from bad. Good financing is something that generates a return greater than the cost. Poor financing of consumption or paying abusive interest. Eliminate bad urgently. Use good when it makes sense. Second, prioritize by interest rate. Higher rate dies first, always. It doesn't matter size or emotion. Mathematics rules. Third, consider renegotiation. Especially in abusive interest rates. Banks would rather receive something than nothing. Negotiate without shame. Fourth, don't anticipate cheap debt by having a better investment. Do the math. Don't follow emotion. Fifth, use inflation to your advantage. Long fixed-rate debt in an inflationary environment is an advantage. Understand and stop being afraid of the long term. Sixth, eliminate shame. Debt is a tool, number, financial decision, not moral judgment. Treat it as a number. The final and most important truth is that you are probably dealing with debt completely naively. You are paying the way the banking system wants. You are feeling shame that the system skillfully uses to control you. You are ignoring powerful strategies that could free you much faster. It's not your fault. No one ever taught you different. But now you know the truth. You can continue paying like naive people pay, following rules that serve the bank, not you, feeling shame that paralyzes and prevents action. Or you can start treating debt like Friedman did, as a neutral tool, like cold number, as a calculated strategic decision that can harm or favor you depending on how you use it. The difference between those who sink into debt forever and those who use debt to prosper is not luck. It's not income level. It's not inheritance. It is applied knowledge. It's a calculated strategy. It's the courage to do something different from what most people do. Friedman taught this his entire life to anyone who would listen. The uncomfortable truth is out there. The question that remains is, will you continue to be naive, or will you finally start being strategic?